I'm from this area. My mom and my dad were divorced when I was young, and when I was 12, my father shot himself. And that really sent me into a tailspin. I started to run away. I was out hanging in Towson with skinheads, sleeping in whoever's house would have me at 13 and 14 years old. And my mother would call the police, and it was so often that I got this little label called incorrigible. And I did some time in a place called Waxer Center, and then after that I went to Boys Village, which is basically children's jail. I was failing school, so my mother decided that it would be good for me to go to a Christian group home all the way up in Vermont, and I didn't want to be there. So I did what I do, and I dipped out. And at 14, I hitched rides all the way to Pensacola, Florida with 18-wheeler truckers, and not a hand was ever laid on me. Nothing ever happened to me, and that's amazing, because I could have been in some ditch somewhere. I came home from that and fast forward to high school. High school was okay. You know, I got bullied a little bit or whatever, but I transferred away from the high school where that was happening and went to a new high school, and I graduated. And right after school, I decided I wanted to move out, live with a boy, and real quickly realized that this boy just wanted to stay home all day and smoke pot, and I was working 80 hours a week at Royal Farm to pay the rent. And we have this little publication called The Penny Saver, and in the back of that Penny Saver one night was an ad that said dancers wanted. So there was my introduction to the Baltimore block and my drug career. Started out with just a little drinking every day. I became an alcoholic very quickly. Had a baby during all that. I used every single day of my pregnancy. I smoked crack. I sniffed heroin. My child is now a beautiful 6-foot-tall, intelligent woman that is an absolute a testament to the power of the Lord. I abandoned her for quite a few years and continued on my self-destructive path, the end of which was me. I graduated to using a needle, doing the drugs IV. I stayed with a man who would beat me, would break my stuff, would throw me around and talk to me in ways that I have never, ever heard in my life, but I continued to stay there because it allowed me to use the way I wanted to use. I was definitely on a path to kill myself. I wouldn't say that to you, but I think that's what I felt inside. I was worthless, useless, hopeless. I had nothing going for me at all. I would steal from you, pick your pocket, lie to you, manipulate you, beg, scream, cry, anything I could to get what I wanted out of you. And I got it a lot of times. I got it. And that just opened that door even more for me. So my favorite place to use was in my legs, because apparently that was easier for me than my arms. I used up all my veins in my arms, and my legs got so bad that I would go to the hospital, but I'd only be able to stay for 2 or 3 days for being sick, and then I would rip out my IVs and leave. And I did that like 10 or 12 times, and I kept leaving, and one night I was holed up in a hotel room, and I had a whole bunch of drugs, and I was just doing my thing, and I got a phone call, and I swear it was from God, in the form of a woman from my insurance company that said, "Why do you keep leaving the hospital? Is the food not good? Are they not giving you the right care? What's going on?" And when I was in the streets, I could tell anybody I was an addict. I wore that thing like it was a badge. I said, "Ma'am, I'm a junkie. I have a drug problem. I can't stay in the hospital. I leave to get more drugs. I'm sorry." And she wouldn't leave me alone. She kept calling me and saying, "Carrie, we got to get you to the hospital again. What can we do? Let me send you a cab. Let us help you. You're going to die." My legs were open from the knees to the tops of my feet, open in running, dripping, stinking sores, and I could not stop. I woke up one morning, I'm struggling whether I was going to say this, but I might as well tell on it, and there were maggots in my legs, and I picked them out and went and copped and kept it moving. I could not stop. I was in the grip of that thing so bad that I couldn't stop. So the final phone call came one night, and it was that woman from the insurance company and another woman. And I'm not rude. I can't hang up on you in the middle of a conversation. And I felt bullied, and I finally told them, "Yes, go ahead. Send me a cab. I'll come." And I walked out the door. I had stolen the last of the money from the man who beats me. There was no more freebies coming from the dealers. I was totally I was dead. And I walked up the street with the last little $6 I had, and I missed the cab, and on the way back, I got a phone call from my mother. And she said, the insurance company called and said that they want to send you a cab and you missed it. Can I come and get you? And out of desperation, I said yes, because I knew there was nothing left. You know, people talk in the rooms about the gift of desperation and being beaten into willingness. Well, that's what it took for me. You can't smack my face. I need the whole 2x4. So my mother decided to take me to a hospital where I couldn't just walk away. And she took me to Bayview, and the doctors there decided and realized, I think, finally, that I had a problem. And they medicated me with Oxycontin and oxycodone, and that was enough to feed my addiction, so I stayed. I stayed in the hospital. And when I got there, when they took my pants off, the doctors' faces were so, like, in shock. I don't know what they thought. My mother said that I was gray. I don't know a whole lot about this, but they told me that my blood count was a 5, and a low acceptable is 7. They said that I had days to live if I had not come in, and they wanted to cut my legs off, and the only reason they didn't do it is because it would have killed me. My body would not have been able to recover from that surgery. So they medicated me, and they said, we'll see. And I lived a day, and the next day they medicated me again, and they said, we'll see. And I started to get stronger, and I got a little stronger and a little stronger, and my head got a little bit further out of that game, and I was able to decide that I didn't want to be with that guy anymore. And I liked my mom coming to visit me and my daughter coming to see me, who hadn't seen me in years. They still loved me, and God loved me, and he didn't want me to die. And so that I've been healing, I think, for 16 months now, and I'm still going to wound care twice a week. I was going to wear some shorts, but I'm not there yet. I can't do it. I still have to wear these thick, heavy wraps, and that's something I'm going to have to live with for the rest of my life. My legs are my living reminder to never, ever go back there again. And this is the funny part, right? So my God works for me in the way that I can understand. You know, I think that God gives us our blessings and our, you know, whatever, in the means and forms where we can take them and appreciate them at that part of our life where we are right there. You know, I used to thank God for money I'd find or a free bag. And I know that sounds weird, but that was the thing that got me to the next day, and it got me to the next day. So that was my blessing at that moment. Well, now I'm blessed with these ugly, scarred legs that look like I've been through a fire. And downtown, my most often body compliment used to be nice legs. Well, it's awful funny how God took that away. I will never get that again, and that's okay now. I have to live with that. And if I get a little forgetful and forget where I came from, I can look right down there and say, oh, no, never going back to that again, you know, because I really almost didn't have my legs. I really almost killed myself, but God didn't let it happen. So I have known about this program, and I had seen the signs, and there's a guy named Jeff who's actually in Africa right now missioning to children there who used to come here, a friend of mine, and he used to tell me about it. And then my uncle comes to this church, and he brought me, and that was back in November, and I've been coming ever since, and things are good. So, you know, I just want to tell you, if you think you're having a bad day, man, just keep going. You know, God's got a plan. I think Pam last week talked about, you know, being taken through the desert and whatever for 40 years, you know. I had to take my 20-year path to get here, so everything for a reason, and you're looking at a miracle. Thank you.